Today's deck takes us on a journey through 78 timeless stories from around the world. It's got soft, dreamlike watercolors, a nostalgic feel, and bring this ancient wisdom to life through art. It's got some beloved stories like The Innocence of Red Riding Hood and some least known one, The Heartbreak of a Little Match Girl. And this deck is Fairytale Tarot. Hi, my name is Jay, and this is Lunaco Tarot, where I bring you weekly reviews of tarot and oracle deck to inspire your readings. And today's deck was created by Lisa Hunt, who's been publishing decks since 1998. So she's a veteran in this art field, and she's bringing a wealth of experience into designs. She's using watercolor, and often with the help of her cat, who enjoys sleeping on the drawing table next to her. This deck is published by the US Games, and in this review we'll do a flip through. We'll look at the quality of the deck and the guidebook. I'll do a sample 3-card read and stay until the end. I'll share with you my honest opinion who this deck is for. In the box we are greeted by the guidebook, which is quite thick. What I like about the guidebook as well, it doesn't have the photos of the cards or images of the cards, so I'm not going to spoil the experience by showing you some of the pages here. And there's a bit of introduction to the ideas behind creating this deck. So it's Lisa makes a connection between the storytelling and archetypal images in tarot. And the idea there that the stories and art of storytelling, if you think about it, it's been around humans for a very, very long time. It's probably one of the longest art forms known to us. And for storytelling, we share stories. We, I guess, exchange our moral and ethical structures and teach each other on how to approach certain situations. And these stories in a lot of ways are archetypal, and a lot of cultures share similar stories. And tarot in a way is done a very similar job. So in the guidebook, there's obviously a description of a card, the major arcana. There's a bit more, of course, on major arcana than a minor arcana. It is expected as samples of some of the spreads. And this deck is a 78 full card deck, structured around Rider-Waite or some classic decks. So the meaning of cards is very similar, though there are some differences. I'll point them out as we go. The cards have really good quality, so it's 340.35 thickness, which is quite good, easy to work with. They break really well. So this is a full, and I quite like this card. This is Red Riding Hood. Look at the expression on the face of the wolf and also a tree. Throughout, apart from one card, and I'll show you what it is, this deck radiates this happiness and innocence to me. And of course, story of Red Riding Hood is pretty much in the innocence and adventure, very similar to the Fool. Also, the wolf obviously is very similar to the dog that is accompanying the Fool on his journey. The Magician, this is a story from Chinese mythology, and I don't know if you can tell, but there's a dragon behind this boy, and basically this box can manifest anything in life. Very similar to what a magician in the Rider-Waite deck would do. The sorceress represents a high priestess here, and it's a Welsh legend, a lake maiden, symbolizing intuition, secrecy, and of course a water is there representing the secret knowledge for intuition. The fairy godmother, I actually forgot, this is from the Cinderella story, and she represents the empress here. Very similar connection to the earth and pumpkins show the transformation of what's coming out of earth and becoming something material. Wise old man. So this is actually our emperor, and it's a Celtic story. So he's less of the this authoritative figure who controls, and creates structures. He's more of a fatherly figure in his deck. This is now my other favorite card. Of course, it's a cat, and there's a cat, and it's a lunar called Tarot after all. So this is our Hierophant. He's the mentor in this deck, and it's a puss. Of course, it's Puss in Boots. Instantly lovable character. In this deck, he's cunning and wise guide. He's not a preacher, but more of a trickster, and some symbolism there. I point out like belt is the mastery and strength, and rocks around him stability. And look how he puts his foot on the rock here. That's indicating a trustworthiness and authority. Lover's card. It's a German folklore connection. Is a free choice, and these birds have been let out, as in, in our choices we should not imprison ourselves by old ideas or structure. Slightly different take. The Chariot is completely different here. So this is a story from Arabian Nights, and flying horse with person behind as well as a princess, I guess, and the castle representing the knowledge and secret knowledge hidden behind. Again, slightly different take on this. So this is navigating levels of psychic understanding before achieving balance. A bit deeper, I would say, than this traditional Chariot card that you see in Rider-Waite. Moving to Courage. So this is the story of the little inch-height samurai, I think it is. So he's confronting a giant, and it shows the strength for willpower and heart, not physical force, similar to the strength card. The Hermit, that's a funny one. I don't get this one. If you do, please tell me. And I'll tell you one of the reasons why some of his meanings I could not understand at the end of the video. It's something to do with the way the guidebook is designed. But this is a hermit, and spinning wheel represents transformation, and I'm not quite getting this connection between the two of his characters here, because for me, hermit is someone who's looking for solitude and introspection. Wheel of Fortune, another interesting story. It's a German folklore. 12 dancing princesses symbolizes change and movement. Justice. Again, it's another interesting one. It's a German folklore, right? And geese symbolize the innocence and vigilance. They actually use them in Rome as gods, and they can tell their friend or foe. Perhaps that's the difference between. That's the reason why it was chosen there. Now, entrapment. This is our devil card, right? And it's interesting because the Hangman. It's interesting because the stories chosen for this, they're not always corresponding directly. So this is a story of Rapunzel from German folklore, and symbolize entrapment, but not a choice like a traditional hangman you would think. And yeah, that's what I wanted to mention too. I like how this card was made to not evoke some negative reaction or feelings. It's really done in a way that makes it quite friendly. There's a little kindness sort of vibe comes from it. So this is actually a death card, and there's a story of Beauty and the Beast, and I have to brush up my memory on exactly the story, but if I remember, the Beast dies and gets reincarnated as a beautiful prince, and I think these are the characters sort of symbolizing the transformation. Temperance, very similar card to the original one. The Bluebird story from French folklore, that's the Temptation. Again, not very familiar with it, but it's something yearning for unattainable. That's apparently this princess was obsessed with Bluebird, the prince, but he was out of reach, and that represents the temptation, which is our devil card. Again, you're not going to see those scary cards here, apart from one which is coming. Just wait for it. You will see it just in time. Now we're going to deception, and deception is actually the Tower. and yeah, it got me confused a little bit. You will have to look up this story, what it actually means. In the book, the star, the moon. Now I'm going to go through them. I just point out the ones that stood out for me. The sun. I do like this card here. It's the redemption or judgment. So it's a different take on it. And we've got happily ever after. Now, this card is actually quite important, I guess, to Lisa, because she dedicated a full 2 or 3 pages to this card, and it represents. It's not a particular culture. It's actually representing just the idea of having this, you know, the beaming light of hope, like a castle, a dream that they all aiming to get to in order to become a different person and ascend to the next level. So basically this is the world card. Now we're going to go for minor arcana, and I'll try to go a little bit faster, but if I see something interesting, I'll call it out for you. And I'm going to mention that actually the swords is my favorite suit here, and you will see why when we get there. Prince of Cups, and yeah, it uses princesses instead of pages in this deck. Now a beautiful card here. 3 of Cups. Are you recognizing any of the 4 of Cups? Are you recognizing any of the cards from a traditional deck? Do they remind you of that? Let me know what you think. 6 of Cups, 7 of Cups, Knight of Cups, 9 of Cups, and 10 of Cups. This is a happiness card. I don't know if you see it or not, but yeah, interesting take. Right, moving to swords now, and I apologize, my card a little bit out of order perhaps because I was going through the deck to prepare for this video. Now the King of Swords is interesting. That one stood out to me. So it's actually a raven from an Inuit culture, and he's carrying swords. They are swords of wisdom. It's quite a cool card. Represents analytical thinking and focus and leadership. Prince of Swords, this is another cool card, I think. So this is a Danish story. Someone's carrying a prince. Very cool card visually. The 2 of Swords, I do like this one, and I have no idea, never heard of this story. So it's apparently a Russian folklore story, the Snow Daughter and a Fire Son. I don't really know this story, to be honest with you, but this represents opposing forces or soulmate, and very much fits the 2 of Swords meaning. Yeah, 3 of Swords, remember that one? Different take, completely different take on that. The 4 of Swords here, taking refuge. 5 of Swords and 6 of Swords. Do you recognize this one? It is actually 7 dwarfs carrying Snow White. It's a story of journey and transition. And look at all the rocks around here. They all have faces. It's kind of cool. Similar to what we saw at, on the Fool card. It's a 9 of Swords card. It's a Flying Trunk. Not familiar with the story, but this is from a Danish folklore. So got a Queen of Wands here, and of course it's a cat. I cannot miss that. So Queen of Wands is a French folklore, and very charming. It represents leadership and warmth, and it's powerful but graceful authority. Princess of Wands. Prince of Wands, Ace of Wands, 2 of Wands. That's a cool card that stood out to me as well. So this is a Romanian Greek folklore, the city mouse and country mouse. It's a story of choices and reflecting different paths and lifestyle. So similar to 2 of Wands energy of planning and decision making. 4 of Wands. I think you probably recognize this story. 5 of Wands. 6 of Wands. It's an interesting one with a dragon here. This one. Remember I mentioned to you that this deck just radiates kindness, and when I came across this one, I was like, yeah, this is pretty brutal. But this is a story of the Hansel and Gretel, German folklore, right? So it's a witch, I think something to do with a candy-made house, and the witch luring little kids in and all that stuff. I have seen the movie, but again, my memory of the stories is not particularly fresh. It's 9 of Wands. Going to Pentacles now. King of Pentacles. That's an interesting one. So this is another Russian folklore story called Father Frost. And for the life of me, I don't remember this. I'm thinking maybe this is a story of the Russian Father Frost that is basically whenever you see Russian or Slavic Santa Claus, it's a different character, and he's got this girl with him who is actually someone he saved when he was in the forest. Now, the interesting thing that his face does not look at all like a Santa Claus in this case. He looks more of a some spiritual being, almost like radiating light. So very interesting choice here. And Prince of Pentacles. Going to Ace of Pentacles. That's another cool card I quite like. So this is the Elven Shoemaker. Represents a tangible gains and prosperity, which is interesting because I would say that, as you know, Aces is a beginning of something rather than having something tangible. But nevertheless, interesting choice. And look at the smiling moon in the background, of course. 2 of Pentacles, 3 of Pentacles. This is 3 little pigs. The classic story of collaboration. Remember, if I'm not mistaken, this is a story of this 3 pigs that built houses from straw and brick, and I can't remember the other material, and the wolf was walking around and blowing at them and they were falling apart. I think this is the one, but yeah, it represents the 3 of Pentacles. 4 of Pentacles, 5 of Pentacles. This is Goldilocks and 3 bears, and this is a story of financial hardship and struggles. Now, for me, it doesn't actually mean that. I think more of a story maybe of kinship, maybe, and yeah, it's an interesting one. 6 of Pentacles, 7 of Pentacles. I think this is a golden goose. 8 of Pentacles, 9 of Pentacles, and finally we go to the 10 of Pentacles. That's another favorite card of mine. It's a Scandinavian folklore, and it's a sun, west, and the moon that represents the end of journey and a rite of passage. And of course, it's a 10, completion of the cycle. So now you have seen the deck. Let's do, I'm thinking maybe do 1 card read, and I'll tell you why. I struggle with this deck, and the reason is that because the book, if you get a chance, if you buy this deck, you will know what I mean. While let's just do 1 card read, and then I'll show you exactly what I mean. I'm hoping I'm going to get a card that is a perfect example of that. All right, I'm just going to get one in the middle, and let's just put the intention here. So let's think about let's think about of tomorrow. What will tomorrow bring us using this deck's wisdom? And I'm gonna go with this card. And we've got the Ace of Wands Right. So if you were to do intuitive reading, to me, it looks like I would say that it represents an escape for something, perhaps a bounty, something that I managed to, me or someone else managed to grab and run away with it, right? So, and it's running away for something big, and it is worth taking it with you, even though the path away from this huge mountain goes through the woodland and doesn't seem to be very hospitable. But whatever it is that I'm taking with me is worth going through the trouble. But is also what's behind of me is something big I'm leaving, right? So this is Ace of Wands, remember, and Ace of Wands will represent something like a new beginning, new enterprise, new passion, right? So I think intuitive reading here told us something different. Wouldn't you agree? Now, Ace of Wands, and forgive me, I'm going to go through the pages a little bit. Yeah, actually, maybe it won't be that difficult. Oh, look at that. All right. So, story: How Coyote Stole Fire. Culture: Native American. Keywords: creative awakening, inspiration, new ideas. And look at this goes. In his story, Coyote is a benevolent trickster who carries a fire of transformation. His movement suggests the directing of energies for productive gain. The feathers attached to Coyote adornments suggest freedom, possibilities, and clarity. The spirally roots intertwine and fortify the dead trees, reminders of continuing flow of ideas and life despite illusion and dormancy. Now, do you see what's happening here, right? There's a lot of mentioning and a lot of references to actual card, right? Where and I think it's a beautiful work, right? But there's references to elements of a card, and I think it allows for intuitive reading here, right? But there's no story. I want to know what happened to the coyote. I want to know if he survived. I want to know what he's running away from. What happened on the mountain? Who is waiting for him? Does he have friends? What's his name? And this deck will not tell you that. And this was my frustration when I was going through this. And you've watched, I'm sure, if you haven't watched some of my videos, have a look. I try to connect with the deck and find the meaning of cards and find the name of the characters, where they come from. And this deck would not give you that opportunity. You need to go and do a bit of a research. So I can tell you that there are some other decks that done a better job with it. For example, this one, the one that I reviewed not that long ago, a few months ago. This is David Pascal storytelling story, and the cards there, perhaps design is completely different, right? They don't have the same number of elements, let's say here, you know, like the moon, and may not have intuitive reading elements, but perhaps they do, you know, depending on how you look at it, right? But if you look in the book, with this one, David actually leaves you enough breadcrumbs to find what the story was about, right? So it's not the huge, and perhaps stories were maybe chosen differently. But if you look at it here, it says, for instance, here, Joseph's coat of many colors. Out of 11 sons, Joseph was his father's favorite. His brothers, seeing the beautiful, expensive Joseph, loved, hated, and plotted to kill him. You see, so even though it's a tiny little paragraph, but at least it gives you that idea, like that's what's happening here, right? And if you look at the Tarot of a Divine, it's another deck that used a very similar structure, very similar idea from Yoshitani, right? You see a very similar approach here. And by the way, this deck by no means have the full story. And I think it's going to be downside, because if you're using a small box like this, it's very hard to put a deck, and there's definitely that. And because of that, Yoshi published a separate book. Clever marketing move as well, right? But there's a book that describes the stories in more detail. But if you have a look here, for instance, you will see something about the something similar to this as well, right? But then you have actual book, you can go and buy that if you really want to and research. So that was quite interesting. I think I think that caused me like a tiny, not a huge, a tiny little bit of frustration when I was preparing the review for you. So here's the deck. But look, let's talk about the good sides. That's probably the only thing I would mention. The artwork is stunning. People complain about potentially having some AI decks that, you know, been generated and pushed in the market. Lisa, if you look at her website, designed so many of those. She's got photos of her artwork. It is a real deck. This is a deck by someone who knows this quite well. It's also, I think, a deck that has a decent guidebook. Maybe not enough, but the meaning, the intuitive reading, you can definitely do that. It's a very peaceful and gentle deck. You know, all these cards, they just radiate this happiness. Look at this smiley guy. I mean, how can you not like this, right? I think if you enjoy studying folklore, and if you already have one of these decks, a Storyteller Tarot, or you know, if you've got the Tarot of the Divine, this could be a good addition. If you like to collect decks with stories, and I don't think there's been significant overlap in the stories that I've seen here, they're actually quite unique. So I think you're gonna like this. If you like the hand-painted deck with the effort to create each card individually, this is one. But I also think this is not a deck for beginners. It's probably going to be a bit of effort to connect with stories. And I would say that if you want to start with a deck that is similar to this, perhaps try Storytelling Tarot, maybe Tarot of the Divine with the companion book. This is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, you know what to do. I publish new video every week, and there's going to be another one coming up for you very soon. So please come back and check my channel. This is Jay with Lunar Code Tarot, and I will see you in the next one.